I believed I knew my wife until I stumbled upon $32,000 hidden on secret credit cards in her desk. That wasn't even the worst part. The real shock was realizing what she had been spending my money on, all while telling me I didn't measure up. Some betrayals cut deeper than others. My name is Finn Callahan. I'm 44 and have been running Sullivan and Sons Plumbing for the last 8 years. Yes, I know it's ironic. The name says Sullivan and Sons, yet my last name is Callahan. I bought the company from Pat Sullivan when he retired and kept the name because it had a solid reputation. That's how I think. Build on what works, don't fix what isn't broken. Nicole never got that. We met 6 years ago at a home improvement expo. I was manning a booth, showing suburban homeowners how to repair toilets. People who seemed like they'd never lifted a wrench. Nicole was there with her 15-year-old son, Trevor, learning about water heater maintenance after her ex-husband Derek left her with a crumbling house and mounting bills. She immediately caught my attention, not just for her beauty, but because she actually took notes. Most people just want free pens and keychains. Nicole asked intelligent questions, wrote everything down, and when I offered to inspect her water heater for free, she looked straight at me and asked, "What's the catch?" "No catch," I said. "Just helping a neighbor." She studied me as if I had hidden terms. "Nobody does anything for free, Finn." "Well, I do." That was the start. I spent the next 3 months repairing everything Derek had neglected: leaky faucets, blocked drains, a bathroom door that wouldn't shut properly. Trevor sometimes watched, passing tools and asking about the trade. Sharp kid, reminded me of myself at that age. Nicole and I married 2 years later, and a year after that, our daughter Emma was born. For a while, things seemed stable. My business was growing, Trevor excelled in school, and Emma brought joy to our lives. We moved into a bigger home with a 2-car garage for my work truck. But then Nicole began to change. The way she introduced me at neighborhood gatherings, just a plumber, as if that 2-word title summed up everything about me. The expression she'd get when Emma proudly said, "Daddy fixes pipes." "Daddy's a businessman," Nicole would correct, but it sounded forced. Our first major fight was about a year ago. I'd been on an emergency call, basement flooding, Thanksgiving guests arriving, and came home around 10 p.m., exhausted and covered in mud, to find Nicole pacing with crossed arms. "Where have you been?" she asked like a parent scolding a teen. "Working," I said. "Mrs. Henderson's basement flooded." "Always something," she interrupted. "An emergency more important than your family." I looked around our warm house, the one my calls helped afford. "I'm working for my family," I said. "No, Finn. You work because it's easier than being here." That fight opened a rift I couldn't repair. Nicole started treating me like a burden, not the man she married. Comments became sharper and more frequent. She'd roll her eyes when I told Emma about fixing Mrs. Patterson's garbage disposal, or when Trevor asked about joining the plumber's apprentice program. "Don't fill his head with that nonsense," she said one evening while I helped Trevor with math. "He's smart enough for real college." "What's wrong with learning a trade?" I asked calmly, so Emma wouldn't hear. "Nothing, if that's all you're capable of," she replied, eyes glued to her phone. Trevor shifted uneasily, caught in the middle. I hated that Nicole placed him there. "There's good money in plumbing, Trev," I said. "Always will be. People always need water and someone to make it work, right?" "People also need doctors, lawyers, engineers," Nicole shot back. "People who don't come home covered in waste." That stung. I closed Trevor's textbook and looked at her. "You didn't mind my work when your pipes were broken and Derek wasn't around." Nicole flushed. "That was different. I didn't know you then, didn't know what I was signing up for." Emma froze, crayon in hand. "Daddy, why is Mommy mad at you?" I knelt beside her, smoothing her hair. "Mommy's not mad, sweetheart. Sometimes adults just see things differently." But Nicole was mad. Mad at me for being exactly who I always was, the man she once loved. Or maybe she never truly loved me, just the idea of being rescued. And now that she felt safe and secure, she seemed to want something else, someone else. Over the next few months, the gap between us grew. She began going out more often, girls' nights, work gatherings, book club meetings that seemed to pop up 3 times a week. I'd tuck Emma into bed and then sit at the kitchen table with Trevor, helping with homework or just chatting about his day. He was a good student, but he had his own struggles. His father, Derek, had started calling more frequently, making promises about visits that never happened, filling Trevor's head with tales of what they'd do together next time. I got a new job in Denver, Derek had said, and Trevor told me one evening while I fixed a loose cabinet hinge. He says I could live with him for a while. See what it's like there. I paused, screwdriver in hand. How do you feel about that? Trevor shrugged, conflicted. I don't know. He's my dad, but he said things like this before. I agreed it could be considered, but reminded him about school and friends here. Emma would miss him dearly. Mom says I should keep my options open, Trevor added. Of course she did. Nicole had been nudging him to reconnect with Derek, probably hoping it would solve her problem of having a stepson who genuinely liked his blue-collar stepfather. But I knew Derek Banks well. I'd heard enough from Nicole about his empty promises and disappearing acts. The man was a dreamer, not a doer, and Trevor deserved better. Then, on a Thursday evening, Nicole's mother, Beverly, arrived unannounced, a first warning that trouble was coming. She had a knack for showing up whenever tensions were high, like she could sniff dysfunction from miles away. She swept into our home with her usual superiority, greeting Nicole with European-style cheek kisses as if we were royalty rather than middle-class Ohioans. Finn, she said to me with a handshake that felt more like a funeral greeting, still getting your hands dirty for a living, I see. I wiped my hands on my jeans, freshly cleaned, but Beverly always made me feel grimy. Evening, Beverly. How was the drive from Cleveland? I asked. Long, she said, settling into our chair like she owned it. But I wanted to see my granddaughter. Emma, come give Grammy a hug. Emma ran over, all smiles and excitement. At 9 years old, she didn't pick up on the tension yet, didn't notice the cold in her grandmother's gaze when it landed on me. Beverly had never approved of Nicole marrying a plumber, and she made sure I knew it. Nicole tells me business has been slow, Beverly said during dinner. Not true. Business was steady, but Nicole had been complaining about money, mostly to fund kitchen renovations, which I suggested waiting on. Business is fine, I said, cutting Emma's chicken. We're doing well, enough to give my daughter the life she deserves. The comment hung in the air. Trevor looked uneasy, picking at mashed potatoes. Nicole stayed silent, letting Beverly take shots at the man who'd stepped up when Derek left them. I think Nicole can speak for herself, I said calmly. Beverly's laugh was sharp, like broken glass. Can she? Because from what I hear, she's only been speaking for herself, and you've been too stubborn to listen. Mom, Nicole whispered. What? Look at this house, Nicole. Look at what you settled for. Your father and I didn't work 2 jobs to put you through college for you to marry a man who can't provide basic security. That was it. I set down my fork, staring Beverly in the eye. This house is paid for. My daughter has everything she needs. Trevor's college fund is fully funded. If that isn't security, I don't know what is. Beverly waved her hand dismissively. What about social standing? Respect? Giving Nicole a chance to be more than a plumber's wife? There's nothing wrong with being a plumber's wife if he treats her right, I thought. Beverly smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. Treating someone right means knowing when you're holding them back. Saturday morning, Derek Banks showed up while I was teaching Emma how to change the oil in my truck. She was under the vehicle, flashlight in hand, asking endless questions about engines and maintenance, when I heard his voice from the driveway. Trevor, get out here, son. Your old man's back in town. I slid out from under the truck, wiping my hands on a rag. There he was, Derek Banks, dressed expensively yet soft around the middle, flashy watch probably fake, that same smile that once fooled Nicole. Finn Callahan, Derek said, extending his hand like old friends. Good to see you. Taking care of my boy, I hear. I shook his hand, a little firmer than necessary. Derek hadn't expected that. Surprise visits are the best kind, he said, though his eyes were already scanning the house, the garage, taking stock of everything I'd built. Nice setup you've got here. Trevor's been telling me all about it. Trevor slowly came out of the house, unsure if he was glad or anxious to see his father. The boy had grown 3 inches since Derek's last visit 2 years ago, broadening in the shoulders, looking more like a young man than a boy. Dad, Trevor said, uncertainty in his voice. Derek pulled him into a hug that lingered just a beat too long, like he was performing. You're huge, man. How tall are you now? 6 feet 2 inches, 161, Trevor answered. Playing sports? Football? Basketball? Killing it with the girls, I bet. I watched Trevor's expression, seeing how he craved his father's approval but didn't know how to answer questions about a life Derek had never really been part of. Emma came out from under the truck, grease on her cheek, and Derek's attention shifted to her. "And who's this little grease monkey?" he asked. "That's Emma," Trevor said. "Finn's daughter." "Our daughter," I quietly corrected, but Derek heard me. "Right, family man now, huh, Finn? That's good. Kids need stability." He ruffled Emma's hair, and she instinctively stepped closer to me. "So, Trevor, pack a bag. We're spending the day together, maybe the whole weekend. I've got so much to show you." Trevor glanced at me, then at Derek. "I've got homework." "Homework can wait," Derek said. "When's the next time your dad's in town? Come on, live a little." I wanted to intervene, remind Derek that showing up unannounced didn't give him the right to disrupt Trevor's life. But Trevor was 15, old enough to make his own choices. I wasn't his biological father, just a man who'd been there every day for the past 4 years, helping with homework, changing tires, listening when Derek was nowhere to be found. "Go ahead, Trev," I said. "Be back by Sunday night. School Monday." Derek's smile widened. "Don't worry, Finn. I'll take care of him." I discovered Nicole's secret credit card debt by accident. I'd been looking for the washer's manual and opened the wrong drawer in her desk. There it was, a stack of statements. At first, I thought she was paying them off each month, like we always had. Then I saw the balances, $32,000 across 6 cards, some I'd never heard of, some I didn't know she had. The minimum payments alone were more than our monthly grocery budget, and the interest rates made my head spin. The charges were everywhere: clothes, jewelry, spa treatments, fancy dinners at places I'd never been. Hundreds of dollars at a time, sometimes multiple times a week. While I worked 60-hour weeks to grow our business, Nicole spent money we didn't have on a lifestyle I couldn't afford. That evening, after Emma was in bed and Trevor upstairs doing homework, I laid the statements on the kitchen table like evidence. "Explain these," I asked. Nicole glanced at them, then at me, and I saw something flicker across her face. Not shame, not regret, but defiance. "I needed things," she said. "Emma needed things. The house needed things. Emma needed $300 shoes. Those are for me. I work hard, Finn. I deserve nice things sometimes." I pointed to a charge for $800 at a boutique I'd never heard of. "Last Tuesday, you told me you were at book club." "I was. Then I went shopping with money we don't have." Nicole crossed her arms. "We have money. Your business is doing fine." I shot back. "My business pays for this house, Trevor's college fund, Emma's school clothes, groceries, utilities, insurance. It doesn't pay for you pretending you're married to someone making twice what I make. Maybe if you had more ambition, I wouldn't have to pretend." That stopped me cold. I really looked at her and realized I didn't recognize the woman before me. The woman who'd fallen for a hard-working plumber had been replaced by someone resenting him for not being someone else entirely. "How long has this been going on?" I asked. "A while," Nicole admitted. "How long?" 2 years, maybe 3. 3 years. 3 years of lies. 3 years of hidden spending. 3 years of building a debt that could ruin everything I'd worked for. I felt something inside me shift, the bond holding us together finally breaking. "We need to cut up these cards," I said. "All of them. Tonight. You can't dictate what I do with my money. It's not yours. It's our money, our debt, and our problem to solve." Nicole stood, gathering the statements from the table. "I'm not a child you can ground, Finn. I'm your wife. Act like it." Derek kept his promise to spend the weekend with Trevor, but what he delivered was far from what anyone expected. He showed up Saturday morning in a rented bright red Mustang convertible, loud exhaust, and all, the kind of car meant to impress rather than serve any practical purpose. "Check this out, son," Derek said, revving the engine in our driveway. "Nothing but the best for my boy." Trevor looked impressed, despite himself. 15-year-old boys are hardwired to admire flashy cars, and Derek knew exactly which buttons to push. They roared off in a cloud of smoke and burnt rubber, leaving me in the driveway feeling humiliated by a man who couldn't even remember his son's birthday most years. They didn't return Saturday night or Sunday morning. By Sunday afternoon, I was ready to call the police, but Nicole convinced me to wait. "He's his father," she said. "He has rights." Trevor finally walked in Sunday night around 10 o'clock, looking like he'd been through a blender. His clothes wrinkled, hair messy, eyes glazed from staying up late, and eating nothing but junk food. Where have you been? I asked. Vegas, Trevor said as if it were perfectly normal. You're 15. Vegas? Dad wanted to show me the city. We stayed at the Bellagio. It was incredible. Nicole stood in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, clearly expecting this little adventure and not bothering to inform me. Trevor, you have school tomorrow, I reminded him. I know. Dad drove all night to get me back. And where is he now? Trevor shrugged, dropped me off and left. Said he had a flight back to Denver. Of course. Derek swooped in, played the fun parent for 48 hours, then vanished, leaving me to manage the aftermath. That week, Trevor walked around as if he'd seen paradise, baffled that the rest of us were stuck on Earth. Dad says I should come live with him. Trevor mentioned Wednesday night while I helped him catch up on missed homework. Oh yeah? And how do you feel about that? I don't know. Denver's cool. Dad's got a great apartment, skiing, mountain biking, lots to do. And school? Friends here? Trevor shrugged. Dad says I can finish high school there. Schools are better anyway. I set down my pencil, looking at the kid I'd raised for 4 years. Trevor, your dad's a good man, but not the most reliable. You know that, right? He's changed, Trevor said defensively. Good job, nice place, got his act together. Maybe, but you have a life here. Friends, activities, people who care. Like who? That hit me harder than expected. Trevor had some school friends, but wasn't popular, quiet, thoughtful, preferring reading to parties. Nicole was never particularly warm toward him, and her mother, Beverly, treated him like he was in the way. I care about you, Trev. I know I'm not your biological father, but you matter to me. Trevor looked at me long, then said, You're not my real dad. No, I admitted, but I've been here. Nicole didn't come home until nearly midnight. I sat at the kitchen table, reviewing the credit card statements, trying to figure out how to dig us out of the hole she created. When she walked in, I smelled wine on her breath and saw that familiar defiant look. We need to talk about this debt, I said without looking up. I don't want to talk tonight, Finn. When do you want to? When the bank forecloses on our house. Nicole dropped her purse on the counter with a loud thud. Don't be so dramatic. I stood, holding one statement. Nicole, this is $32,000, more than I made in my first 3 years running this business. Maybe that's the problem, she said, kicking off her heels. Maybe you're not making enough, or maybe you're spending too much. We stared at each other, and I felt a chill run through me. She wasn't sorry, embarrassed. She was angry at me for discovering her secret. I regret every day with you, Nicole, she said, voice low and bitter. Every single day of this small, pathetic life you've trapped me in. Her words hit like a physical blow. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my wedding ring, and sat on the kitchen counter between us. Then let this be the last one, I said. Nicole's eyes widened, genuinely surprised for the first time in months. Finn, I didn't mean. Yes, you did. I walked toward the door, then paused and turned back. Pack your things, Nicole. I want you out of my house by the end of the week. You can't kick me out. I'm your wife. Not anymore. I went upstairs to check on Emma, peacefully asleep in her bed, unaware that her world was about to change. Trevor's room was empty, still at Derek's place, probably hearing more stories about the exciting life waiting for him in Denver. I sat on the edge of Emma's bed, watching her sleep, and made a promise. Whatever happened with Nicole, whatever happened with Trevor, I wouldn't let this destroy my daughter. She deserved better than a home full of resentment and lies. The next morning, Nicole was gone. No note, no explanation, just an empty closet and cleared bathroom counter. I found Emma at the kitchen table, staring at her mother's usual spot. Where's Mommy? She asked. I sat beside her, holding her small hand. Mommy had to go away for a while. Will she come back? I looked into her trusting eyes, unsure of how to answer. I don't know, Emma, but I do know this. I love you more than anything, and that will never change. Emma nodded solemnly, then climbed into my lap for a longer than usual hug. A week later, Vanessa Carter called. I almost didn't pick up. Nicole's friends had been calling all week, some to check on me, others to scold me for abandoning my wife. But this time I answered. Finn, it's Vanessa, she said softly, hesitantly. I know you probably don't want this right now, but I need to tell you something. Vanessa had been Nicole's best friend since college, and one of the few in Nicole's circle who treated me with respect. What is it? I asked. It's about Nicole, what she's been doing. She paused, took a deep breath. She's been seeing someone, Finn, for months. I sank into my chair. Part of me suspected it, but hearing it confirmed still felt like a punch to the gut. His name is Brad Summers. Lawyer at her firm, BMW, expensive suits. Everything Nicole said she wanted. Everything I wasn't. How long? Since Christmas, maybe earlier. She's been lying to everyone. All those book clubs, girls' nights, half never happened. Why tell me? Because you deserve better than what she gave you. You're a good man, and good men shouldn't feel they're not enough when the problem was never them. Her words struck deep. The debt, lies, constant criticism, it wasn't my fault. Nicole had chosen someone else. There's more, Vanessa said. I've watched how she treats you, talks about you behind your back. It's not right. A wife should support, not tear down. I sat in my quiet kitchen afterward, thinking about her words. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like a failure. I was a man married to the wrong woman, giving his best to someone who couldn't see it. Emma came down, hair messy, climbed into my lap silently. Are you sad, Daddy? A little, I admitted. But I'm also relieved. What's relieved? Sometimes when something bad ends, you feel better even if you're sad. Emma nodded, perfectly understanding her 9-year-old way. Divorce papers arrived 3 weeks later. Nicole wanted half of everything. The house, the business, even Emma's college fund. Her lawyer was slick, greedy, but I had something they didn't. Documentation of every secret credit card, every fraudulent charge, every lie about the money. Your client accumulated $32,000 in debt without my client's knowledge or consent, my lawyer told them at the first settlement meeting. She used marital assets to fund an affair. We have grounds for a very different settlement. Nicole went white. She likely expected me to surrender out of guilt or exhaustion. Instead, I was ready for war. Finn, please, she said during our lunch break. Don't do this. Think of Emma. I am thinking of Emma, I replied. I'm thinking about how she deserves a father who stands up for what's right, who doesn't let others walk over him. Trevor had made a choice too. Derek's promises about Denver had fallen apart when his big job turned out to be yet another failed scheme. He returned from Colorado with his tail between his legs, asking if he could move back home. Of course, I told him, but we need some things clear. I'm not your biological father, but this is your home as long as you want it to be. Trevor nodded, serious. I know you're not my real dad, but you're the one who's been here. That counts. Emma adapted better than expected. Kids are resilient. She missed her mother, but not the constant tension, the arguments, the walking on eggshells. Our house felt calm for the first time in years. Daddy, is Vanessa going to be my new mommy? She asked one evening while we made dinner. Vanessa had been spending more time at the house, helping with Emma, bringing groceries, simply being present in ways Nicole never was. It wasn't romantic yet, but something was growing between us, built on respect and genuine care. I don't know, sweetheart. Would you like that? Emma thought carefully. I think so. She's nice to me, and to you too. 6 months later, the settlement was finalized. Nicole received less than she wanted, but more than she deserved. The key thing, Emma stayed with me, the house remained mine, and the business stayed intact. Nicole moved in with Brad Summers, her lawyer boyfriend, and shared photos online of luxury vacations and fancy dinners. I didn't feel jealous. I felt relieved. Someone else was paying for her lifestyle, while I focused on building something real with people who valued me. Vanessa was one of those people. She understood love wasn't about what a man could buy, but how he treated you when no one was watching, how he showed up every day, kept his word, and prioritized family. You know what I love about you, she said one evening on the porch, watching Emma and Trevor play catch. My devastating good looks. I joked. Your hands. Honest hands. They build instead of just taking. 2 years later, Vanessa Carter became Vanessa Callahan in a small backyard ceremony. Emma was the flower girl. Trevor walked Vanessa down the aisle, and my brother gave a toast that brought happy tears, to second chances, and to men who know the difference between settling and choosing wisely. The business thrived. Word spreads in small towns, and people respect a man who stands up for himself without cruelty. I hired 2 more employees and expanded into emergency services. Trevor graduated high school with honors and attended community college while working for me part-time. He discovered a natural talent for plumbing and, more importantly, enjoyed it. It's honest work, he said, echoing what I'd told him years ago. Derek still called, full of new schemes, but Trevor had learned to see through the facade. Blood might be thicker than water, but presence is thicker than blood. Emma, now 11, was confident and happy, helping me in the shop, learning practical skills, showing the intelligence that had once made me fall for her mother. "Daddy, do you ever miss Mommy?" she asked one Saturday. I considered carefully. I miss who I thought she was, but not who she turned out to be. "That makes sense," Emma said, wise beyond her years. Vanessa brought her own strength to our family, never trying to replace Nicole, just showing up steadily, proving through actions that she was here for the long haul. "You know the difference between you and Nicole?" I asked while cleaning up after dinner. "What?" "You see me for who I am, not who you wish I could be." She smiled, kissed my cheek. "Because who you are is enough, Finn. More than enough." The house Nicole had complained about became a home again. The business she resented became something I could be proud to pass to my children. The life she dismissed became something worth celebrating daily. Sometimes the best thing for a man is losing the wrong woman to find the right one. Sometimes a foundation must break completely before you can build something that lasts.